how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
To infinity and beyond!
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
It's classified.
You talking to me?
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
I can't lie!
Expecto Patronum!
Entertainment X.
You never know what you're going to get.
For this episode, I talk with Tara Magalski, and what a talk we have. We discuss her life and what a journey she's had and what a journey she is continuing to have. We touch on character and knowing what your character is and sticking true to that, among many other things. This was a really wonderful conversation. So I hope you enjoyed as much as I did, and keep on keeping on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back, and today with me is Tara Magalski. Tara, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having Gracie and I on your show.
Yes, she is holding the cutest little puppy right now. What is it's a
Maltipoo.
Maltipoo.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, this thing is about the size of a 2-liter.
She is 2 pounds.
Sprite.
Yeah, 2 pounds right now. She's 11 weeks. She'll be big soon.
She is so cute. Okay, so let's jump right in here, shall we?
Let's do it.
Growing up, who did you want to be?
Growing up, I wanted to be Lucille Ball.
Okay.
I used to watch I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
And I said, this is what I want to be. This is who I want to be. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And there was singing and acting and dancing and performing. And that was my role model, Lucille Ball.
What was there an episode that stands out in your mind from that?
Oh, my favorite is when she would get, I don't know if she would play drunk, but anytime like Desi would like do a show and like she would come out and try and be in the act and dance and like trip and fall and just be ridiculous and embarrass him. And then, of course, the famous one with Ethel when they are eating those like chocolate bonbons.
Yes, and they're like, speed it up. I love that. What is the one? What's the one? The Biddleottle, where she's like drinking the medication but getting drunk on it, trying to sell it.
Yeah.
I love
just
that show.
Phenomenal. The best comedy, I think, to date.
Yeah. Oh, there she goes. Gracie's running across the table.
Gracie's probably going to make her debut today.
This is so cute. Yes, I love this. Okay, so that was, now you were like a child then watching that.
Yeah,
like, that
I was a child.
grown.
It
You
was
grew up with
5,
that.
6. I remember just my early memories of watching I Love Lucy.
Was that the beginning of your interest in like performing and entertainment?
Yes, absolutely. That was what did it for me. I said,
Yeah.
I remember being a kid and saying, gosh, this looks like so much fun. I want my job to be this fun. And that was how I decided I wanted to go into performing and acting
I love that.
and dance.
I love that. Were your parents fostering that with you, or were they kind of
Yeah.
like, they were? Okay.
They were. My parents were very, very supportive.
Great.
Put me in school. I was in dance class. I mean, I would play with my neighbor and perform and put on full-blown concerts. When,
Yes, you would.
So after school, we would do like a dance number to Paula Abdul, like Cold Hearted Snake. And we would literally
love that.
perform. And then when my mom would come home, we would show her.
Oh my goodness.
So that was... Can you, how cute this is right now?
This is adorable. Gracie, just for people, because they can't see, she was running around and now in a second she just passed out like a little infant. Okay, so you put on these shows.
Yeah.
And now we met through Dale Noel, the owner of True Model Management.
Yes.
And we had lunch last week and we were talking about drive and being an entrepreneur and kind of going and taking what you want, not in like a bad way, but like following your passions, following your dreams, following what you should believe in your soul that you should be doing.
Yes.
And that takes work ethic. So I'm kind of curious, what did you learn about work ethic from parents growing up?
Yes. Wow. So my mother was a really good role model in the sense where she started out as a social worker, worked her way up, and then when my sister and I were in school, she went back and got her master's and started to move up the ladder and worked with Governor Pataki, and she was doing social welfare reform, and she was the deputy commissioner of social services when she retired.
Oh.
So I just watched her. This was the baby boomer era where like women were just kind of going back to work after having kids.
Okay.
And because before that, women really weren't working. They were just staying at home moms. So she was part of that generation that was like, I'm going to go out there and work. Because her mom didn't really go out and work. She was just a stay-at-home mom. So there was a lot of drive coming from that generation, I noticed. And that was really cool for me to see growing up. I was like, wow, she's really dedicated, and she also really loved what she did. And we had, foster brothers and sisters that would stay with us, and exchange students that would stay with us. So we were exposed to that growing up.
So she was a foster parent?
Yeah, so we fostered some kids through our childhood. She fostered, my parents did.
Yeah.
And usually it was the people from work, the kids from work that parents she grew attached to, and they weren't being placed.
Yeah.
And then they would live with us for an interim period until they were placed. So there was always people coming and going.
What a big heart.
There was always
Yeah.
kids around. And so it was really good to see that. My mother was the type of woman who was very, very aggressive, alpha female. And she instilled in me that I can do whatever I want, really. And that there was really no one that could ever tell me that she always said, don't accept no for an answer, which is kind of like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
My fiance now is like, oh boy.
He's just like,
I'm like, no?
possibly not. No.
Let me ask you another way.
Oh. So then.
So that was really my, the strongest impact that I had growing up was my mother's drive and ambition.
What did you see on her balance of work and play?
Well, I saw a struggle there, of course, because she was a full-time mom, and my parents were separated when I was 6. So it was a little stressful for her because she was working and had to work and do her thing. And then she would come home, and I just remember it being stressful for her. So I'm not so sure how that balance went.
Yeah.
I know she was a great mom and would have done anything for us, but I definitely saw that it was taxing on her.
Yeah.
Just to be real.
Yeah. No, I mean, hey, come on. That's what we're doing here. What did you learn about kindness from her?
Yeah, I would say definitely kindness through her extending her hand whenever she could with the kids that were displaced or children who had parents who were on drugs. Another thing my mother, and this always is something that's in the back of my mind, I was in the 5th grade, and I had a kid that I basically grew up with. Upstate, you go through kindergarten to 5th grade, and then you go pretty much your whole 12 years together.
Yeah.
So you just go from one school to the middle school, and you all stay in the same kind of thing.
That's so true. And
so it was someone that I knew and I grew up with since I can remember. And I was in the 5th grade, and I remember one of my friends was just getting awkward. It was a boy. I won't mention names. And people were making fun of him and bullying him. So I remember coming home and saying to my mom, so-and-so is getting bullied at school. And, I always felt like I had a strong personality. And I always said, well, what do I do? What's the best way to handle it? And my mother said to me, the best way to handle it is to always find the beauty in someone. So when people are making fun of them, it's your job to not join the group, but to find something special about that person and tell them what's special. Yeah. And I remember that was something that I always took to heart, and I feel like I still do it now to this day. I always try and look at, the good in someone. Yeah. Or what's special about them. So yeah, that was one of my favorite things I would say that I've learned.
Yeah.
That stuck with me the most. That's
a really great point that you're bringing up, because here goes the puppy over the shoulder, because that's just so important when you're even communicating with anyone. I mean, it's like finding the magic in every interaction in a way that life is so much more full when you think that way. So I really love that.
Yeah, I would say that was one of her best teaching moments.
Yeah. How did you conduct yourself, kind of as you grew up, explaining what you do at family parties?
So funny you mentioned that. I just saw my niece yesterday, and she came to the city to go see some Jake Paul thing. who knows?
Who's that?
Some YouTuber.
Oh, okay.
So
Sounds terrible.
terrible.
No, not him. I mean, it sounds terrible that I don't know who that is.
No, although I heard that he's doing some empowering things with the kids, so I think that that's pretty cool.
Side note, did you
Yeah.
see that? It was viral, I guess, maybe, of Barbie doing the vlogging. No, your face says no. So Barbie did this. They created this vlog with
No,
Barbie
but I like
where
it.
she talks about
Women's empowerment?
Yes. But it talks about being bullied, and it talks about she hits some heavy stuff, and it's like this animated Barbie.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
So apparently, I found out yesterday before I judged him that they are doing these sort of things, and they're playing with the young kids. So they're putting them in circles and talking about bullying,
Yeah.
having the kids go around in circles and like sharing stories. And I thought that was really, really, really impactful. So, anyway, so she was here, and the woman who I had never met, who is the other her friend's mother, said, I asked Alexis what you did, and she just didn't have a response. She said she didn't know. So what do you do? So again, there it was. And I said, well, I am a social impact producer. I produce events. My background's in, production and producing in television. And I also, work in nutrition, and I have a website on mental health, a campaign on mental health. Let your mess be your message.
Yeah.
And I audition when I have some free time.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah, so I kind of do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you really do. And we are gonna break a lot of that down. Was there a time when you started performing that you were ashamed to share what you were doing, as though it was like coming out apologetic? And I ask this question because when we start off in certain careers, especially careers that are a bit more unknown than, like, I don't know, maybe teaching or something along those lines,
More safe.
there's this kind of an apologetic way that it comes out. And I
that's interesting.
speak on myself. That's why
Yeah.
I asked the question, because I started out like that.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying, where you're kind of not 100% owning
Yes.
where you are in the process as an artist.
Yep.
For example, I'm an actress. Oh, really? What have you done lately? That sort of
That
thing.
thing.
Well, actually, I'm producing and creating content, or I take classes and I'm in the process of working on these scenes, and like owning the process that you don't always work as an actor, as a performer, but you must always stay true to your craft and to your art and to what like fuels your spirit and your soul.
Yeah.
So it took me a lot of years to kind of understand what that was, and also play around with different things that I wanted to explore.
Yeah.
And kind of say, it might not make the most sense, but this is what I need to do for me.
Yeah.
And just, I have these conversations probably monthly with my fiance. He's a very linear thinker, logical guy who's in finance. So he's not really sure sometimes, what I am doing, or he knows when I do my events and when I'm doing, different things, when he can see a tangible action item and or an event, right?
event,
There
yeah.
it is. So he's like, oh, that's what you've been working on. And I'm like, well, there's also me writing.
Yeah.
There's also me working on a character, things that you'll never see.
Yeah.
Me getting ready for a big audition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all part
do
of the
know what you mean.
process, and that's also called work.
Yeah.
So,
But sharing that, but also, and I guess that's a mental space you're getting yourself into, a confidence in yourself. So when people come up to you with these, because that's another thing I realize, and we'll talk about it for a second, insecurities. When someone comes up to you and they say something like that to you, it's almost like they're projecting their own insecurities onto you as like, well, what have you done lately? Like a test. It becomes aggressive and almost feels like a fight.
and it's funny. You're like, why does it matter? Because I guess it validates them acknowledging you as a accomplished artist.
Which is weird to me, because when someone comes up to you and says, like, I teach English, you don't say, what lesson did you just teach?
Exactly.
What did you
Very, very good
dissect
point.
Romeo and Juliet the other day? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't do that. What's the grade point average of the students in your class? You don't like, what are the test scores of your, like a reflection on your
okay.
teaching career, which is your resume is a reflection on your acting career.
Yeah.
So that's something that's always fascinated me. And it's a question I want to start bringing up with more people, because that happens daily.
It's really annoying.
In short, annoying.
Just annoying.
But
So people out there, don't be so rude.
yeah, pretty much.
Artistry is a process and a journey, and
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that you have to have a ton of accolades on your resume. The process in which it takes to have the courage to actually do what you love and express yourself through an art form is enough.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Now, you studied communications in London.
I did.
And I'm very interested about that
Yeah.
and what you learned about culture there and how it reflected on you coming back to the States.
Well, London is such a cool city. It's a lot like New York City. So, but I wasn't living in New York City yet. So I did a year abroad there, and that was right before I graduated. I was going to school in Oneonta, and then I went to AIU, American Intercontinental University. And then I graduated and came right to the city. So I would have to say it's very much like New York, very transient place. You have people from all over the world, just like New York. The people there are very, very kind, I would say. I had an amazing experience, had tons of great friends. It's rainy there.
Yeah.
They are much more laid back.
Happier?
Maybe that's it. I would say that they're a little bit more laid back and they're more jovial in the sense of happy hours and things of that nature. I just felt like a warm embrace.
Yeah.
A really warm embrace with the English people who were living there that I met.
Yeah.
In New York, it's like that, but people are a little bit more, I don't know, maybe I was also young and naive. You know, you're young and naive and you just think that like you fit in anywhere.
Yeah.
And you're just like, hi, I'm here. And you just kind of make friends. So I was young and just, I had a really good experience.
Good.
So I would say the culture was really lovely. I didn't like the rain. But, you know, I did move there on October 4th, right after 9/11.
Okay.
So it was interesting because there was a lot of terrorist attacks or at least threats,
Yeah.
you know, but they were localized.
How were they receiving the attacks here in New York?
So there was a lot of threats and there was a lot like travel advisories and, you know, you couldn't really travel and there's a lot of like bus bomb threats, things of that nature. So I do remember being a little bit shaken when I moved because it was just so soon. And I remember my mother saying to me, I said, I shouldn't go. And she said, you're absolutely going.
Yeah.
You don't
Okay.
let fear stop you. You are going. You're getting
I
on that
love
plane.
this woman.
And I was like, okay. She's like, we've been planning for a year and a half. You are going.
Yeah.
And I said, okay.
Wow.
There was like no question about it.
You're like, I'm going. You spent time in Africa?
Yes, I did. I did with an amazing organization called EPIC, and that stands for Everyday People Initiating Change, where they bring water wells to underdeveloped countries, mostly in Tanzania and Aringa, Arusha. Now they're spreading out through Africa. And we went there, gosh, I think it was almost 6 years ago now, maybe even 7. And we shot a small documentary on it, just really showing what they were doing. It was a documentary on EPIC and what they were doing there. And that was my largest culture shock, if I've ever had one.
In what way?
Well, wow. In Dar es Salaam, there was a lot of poverty. There was a lot of burglary. You know, we stayed in a home of one of the families that they work closely with there. And, you know, at night, we were in a bed with covered the nets because then there was rats, there was things, there was all sorts of
Mosquitoes and like all the
mosquitoes and all sorts of interesting bugs.
Yeah.
And, you know, the roofs are open, a lot of them in the courtyard areas, and then some have the tin roofs, so it's not the best structures. But I do remember that we were in Dar es Salaam and we're kind of known as like the white folk have been in town, and so we had to be very conscious of electronics. And, you know, at nighttime there was people outside the windows. They try and cut through the wire. So we would take turns just kind of with the flashlight, and one of us would stand guard and stay up. So there was a lot of fear. But then once we got out of Dar and we went into other areas, it was so beautiful. And walking for water in the villages and really understanding the struggles that they're going through, and going into the rural areas and seeing how much they love God and how much they praise and worship and how beautiful that is. And seeing the kids and them taking your sunglasses off your face and seeing your camera and looking at themselves for the first time. It's like they don't have mirrors and things like that. They don't have cameras, and seeing themselves digitally.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And just how happy they were to be alive,
Yeah.
and how much we take for granted,
Isn't that true?
and how we have water at every corner, and how they have to walk 45 minutes a day to get water that is soiled, and then they have to boil that water, and just really have an understanding that they just have so much grace. And they're so grateful.
Did that give you a new sense of gratitude?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, and of course I slip in and out of that, right? We just get so caught up. And then you think about it, and we're due to go back. I'm bringing Michael. We're going to go back with that organization in the next couple of years. And I'd like to build a well, our own well. I'd like Michael's company to come and build a well. But on a side note, we ended up having to take a bus. We took a bus for like 16 hours. And I remember there was a woman who there wasn't enough room for people to sit, right? They crammed on the bus. And there was a mother with a child. And she's passing her baby around. People are holding the baby. She's tired. She's standing. People are getting up so she can sit. We're switching seats. It's like musical chairs. Yeah. And that to me was like, wow, just to like get from one place to another. It was such a
Task.
Yeah. And yeah, and it was just a real eye opener.
Yeah.
Of what we take for granted.
Yes. When you started modeling, how did the transition come from like communications to modeling, acting? How did that come about?
Oh, wait, one side note I wanted to tell you about Africa I just remembered.
Sure.
Was we were driving on this long bus tour, and I remember seeing a car that had gotten into an accident. It was kind of flipped over. It looked like it was bringing cargo, I don't know, food. I'm not sure what was in it because we were going by pretty fast. And I just remember, like, we didn't pull over. And we just kept on moving on. And I was like, oh, my God, like, is that person okay? And it just was like a normal occurrence for that, like a car to be flipped over and other people not really helping, maybe people kind of going in and getting some things out of the back of the truck.
Yeah.
And I remember going, oh, my God, like, well, let's pull over. Let's help this person. And it just was a survival mentality. Yeah. But anyways, moving on.
Yeah, real quick though, but that's a great point because, and I encourage everyone, especially if you live in like a metropolitan area like New York City or Los Angeles or any other city in the United States, that you go to another country.
Yeah, get out there.
Because it'll really change your views.
It will change the way you view the world.
And like after I traveled a bit, like you walk down like West End Avenue and you hear people using the horns on their cars as weapons. Yeah. And there's no imminent they're not even avoiding an accident. They're really just expressing anger with their horn. But that right there, though, you know, like if someone goes and experiences a different culture, in my mind, you have this greater sense of gratitude. You have this greater sense of, oh, wow, my life isn't that bad.
Of course.
And not that anyone else is bad. Some are, some aren't. But it's that idea of just kind of, it's a reset button on what you take for granted and how you would behave in a city where there's water everywhere. I mean, fresh water, and you flip any switch and the lights will come on.
Yeah.
I mean, two basic things here that are unheard
Not so
of.
Basic.
Yeah, in other countries.
In other countries.
Okay. Acting, modeling.
Transition.
Yes.
Yeah. So I started out, my first job was at ABC. I went to school, and one of my really good friends that I went to college with was a year ahead of me. So she got a job in production at ABC at Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Oh, cool.
So she said, hey, we had the same major. I can get you a job here. I had done a few internships at CBS, And she said, I can get you a job. And I said, amazing. So she got me a job working as an audience coordinator.
Oh, cool.
And for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right as Regis was leaving and Meredith Vieira was taking over. And then I just went from an audience coordinator into a casting assistant, into coordinator, like doing a lot of bookings with the guests and things of that nature. Yeah. And then from there, I started working with King World Productions, which produces, it's a production company for that show when the show went on hiatus, and doing other productions. So that was my transition into, working professionally.
Yeah.
And I remember I was working on a Heidi Klum commercial. I think it was she had like years ago, she had like a line of jeans. I don't know if anyone even remembers this. And I remember I was helping, cast and do a lot of production on the commercial. And I was cutting checks for the models and the featured talent. And I remember I was cutting checks at the end of the day. And I was like, this featured actor or model made more than I make in a week, in literally 3 hours. I got to rethink this. And I remember going, maybe I should be on the other side of this. So I started looking into modeling, acting, going back to school, because I had actually studied acting from when I was a child. I was in school, and I was in a theater company when I was upstate. So
what theater company? For anyone,
I'm forgetting the name
of
it.
Sorry, I don't
put you on the spot. Rodney Douglas was my teacher. Oh, he was literally, but I forget. Rodney Douglas was the teacher, and it wasn't really a theater company, but we would go and do theater performances at local theaters in Newburgh and in Beacon.
Yeah.
So, and I did plays when I was a kid through his school. He was known upstate as this guru of acting, and he was just fantastic, and he's passed away now, but yeah, such good memories.
Real side note there, real quick, were there any standout lessons that he taught you or mementos of thought that stick out in your mind in terms of acting technically or conducting yourself as a human?
He was my first teacher that I ever had, and he was very kind. And I think that was a really good thing for me, because once I went on to study later, you know how, and when you get into acting programs, I went to a 4-year school. They want to break you down and build you up again when you're studying Meisner and all of that, and the Stanislavski. He was really, really just kind, because we were young, we were 13, 14. So his approach was just get out there and do it. And let's go through the text, and I just remember feeling a lot of love and a lot of confidence. And, we would do our monologues, and he just, honestly, I was just so blessed to have him as my first teacher, because it could have scared me if I had somebody at a young age that kind of broke me, which I ended up having later, which now I can see that I loved. And it was such a great thing, because I needed to get to the raw essence of my technique and how to get in there to get emotions. But I certainly wasn't ready for that at 12 and 13.
Yeah.
So, so I had already had that in my tool belt, and already had acting and theater, experience. So I said, you know what? I should probably rethink this. And that was when I decided to go back to school. And I studied with Maggie Flanagan. And I was freelancing as well. So I was able to go to school during the day and freelance and do projects here and there. And then I picked up a waitressing job on the side to help me pay for it.
Yeah.
So that was really my moment of transition. And then I got into foot modeling. And
is that where you met Dale?
No, I didn't meet Dale until years later.
Okay.
I met Dale. I'm not going to give away my age just yet, but I met Dale. I met Dale probably 6 years ago. And I'm talking all of this stuff happened when I was 23, 24, 25.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, I'm not giving you my age.
No,
I will.
I'm not asking for it. I'm curious, though, in terms of acting then.
Yeah. How
did you stand up for yourself in less than professional situations?
I've got a great story there, which is also on my website. So I was 25 and I had gotten a really amazing opportunity. It's really funny. You see where we are right now?
Yes.
So I had met someone in the gym here.
Okay.
There's a gym in this building. And I had met someone here who, that's how long my friend is at this place, right? So
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
This is Uncle Don's house.
Yes, Uncle Don.
So I met someone in the gym and they were like, I'm working on this project. Turned out that the guy lived in the building who was producing this movie. It was called The Stick Up Kids. The guy ended up turning out to be a con man, but anywho, Hawthorne James from Stargate of the Atlantis was the director. So, you know, he had a lot of clout and whatnot. So he was getting funding. And, like, this was my first real project. Like, trailer. Like, I was a co-star.
Yeah, what a project to be
I
a part of.
had, you know,
first.
a stylist. I had wardrobe. I had the whole nine. Like, a
Yeah.
trailer. I was like, oh, my God, I've arrived. But anywho, so I thought everything was legit. And I had a contract. It was SAG. And I, you know, it was a full set. So I was like, wow, full crew, the whole nine. This wasn't a student film.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, wow, this is a really great opportunity. I feel like I've really kind of like made it in a sense because that's how they made you feel on set. Like you're the star.
Yeah.
And one day I was shooting the implied sex scene, right? Because I had met my character. We had hooked up the night before, but in the script that I had signed off on, it was very clear in the script and on the storyboard that I had signed my contract that my the strap on my dress goes down.
Yeah.
You unzip the dress. You wake up the next day, the morning. So it's implied that we've made love.
Right.
Well, the day that we're shooting the scene, they want to improvise.
They being
My co-star, who was also producing, executive producing, and the director.
Got it. Okay.
They wanted to improvise the scene.
Yeah.
What do you mean improvise the scene?
Yeah.
This is I get it. So we can improvise my strap going down and me unzipping.
Yeah.
But where else are we improvising?
Is this what you said?
Yeah. I don't understand. What do you mean
And
improvising?
how old were you?
25 or
Okay.
24, 25. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not understanding this. So they're like, well, you know, let's be an actor and explore. Oh, you mean have a porn sex scene? Like, I'm not getting what you're saying.
Did you say that to them as well?
Yes.
Oh, good for you.
And I've always been a ballsy girl. So I was like, yeah, I'm not really getting that. So anywho, they're like, well, you know, and I was like, listen, there's 1 million people on set. They're like, well, we'll get a closed set. So they kind of like coerced me into at least going into the part where my dress is like getting undone. Well, you better believe as they're rolling, he's trying to undo and like take off my bra. Pull up my dress so my thong is exposed. You better believe. Can I curse?
Yeah.
This bitch went nuts. I literally stood up, smacked the co-star across the face, took my shoe off and threw it at him, threw it at the wall, and was like, cut. This production is over. I don't know what you're trying to do to me, but like you've got the wrong chick. You seriously have miscast this role. I'm out of here. And I'll never forget, there was a script supervisor, and she was there, and like it was a.
They all knew
closed
what was
set.
going on.
They were like,
And they were gonna speak up.
running. No, they were running for their lives because I went into like crazy bitch mode.
They left.
They literally ran down. Like I was like,
Yeah.
like running around like you've got the wrong chick. I don't know what you're trying to do. This is not a sex scene. This is not a. I'm not signed up for this. You'll be hearing from my agent, and you'll be hearing from SAG. I will shut your production down. And I left.
Shit.
I gathered my stuff, and I'll never forget the amazing stylist was like, "Oh, honey, not the shoes. Don't throw them. Not the dress." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Listen, they have fucked with the wrong girl. I will not be treated this way."
Yeah.
And like, you can imagine, they cut my last couple of weeks of working with them. I was fine with not going back. I had about 2 more weeks of filming to do. That was cut short.
Yeah.
I was done anyways.
Did anyone speak to you afterwards? that
I
was
had
on the
this
set?
amazing girl who was doing the script supervising, and she was working a lot of continuity of the shots, and she was always right next to the director, AD. And she said, "You did the right thing, girl. No way. What they tried to do to you, no way."
Jeez.
And also, I want to give a plug to a guy who I deeply respect, Monty Bissell. He is a producer. He's still a working actor, and he had my back through the entire process.
Wow.
And he said, because he was one of the producers on the film, and he said, "Whatever you need." And him and I sat down and we talked through it. And he was like, "What do you need from me?" And I said, "I'm going to need you to write a letter to SAG. We're going to need to make an official complaint. And because I need to get paid. I'm getting paid for this.
Yeah.
They want to cut whatever they want to do. I don't know what's going to go down, but I will be paid in full." I got paid in full. And SAG did go after them. This guy ended up, the guy, Tariq, who was the main producer putting it together. He was like, he got in trouble for like conning investors, and he was a real mess. And SAG had sued them, and I was getting checks years later
Oh, damn.
of money that was owed to me.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, all in all, that was my story.
What advice would you give someone when on their character being tested?
You have to stand up for yourself. If it truly does not feel right, which this didn't, I felt like I was being taken advantage of, which I was. You have to really own your power and your voice. And in those moments, you have to stand up for yourself. And as a young artist and as a young woman in the industry, I mean, we know what's going on with this Me Too movement, right? That was my Me Too moment.
Right.
Sorry. That was my Me Too moment, where I thought I had arrived in this Hollywood-esque production, and there I was by a guy who was well-known, Hawthorne James, and I hate to say it, yeah, I'm gonna call him out,
Right.
and that's not okay. It's not okay to run a production like that with a young girl.
Yeah.
And
But there was no thought in your mind about your career possibly being jeopardized
no, I didn't
for
care.
like trying to go along with it or something.
No.
And that's what's so admirable, because regardless of what you think you want, you still stayed true to your character.
At the end of the day, though, that would have been. There is still in this film pictures of my ass.
That you did not agree to.
Yeah, I mean, this is being filmed. This is like going down like porno land. Like
Oh.
there's no question in my mind. I was like, this has to stop.
Yeah.
The moment that I felt that like I was being exposed in a manner in which I was uncomfortable, this is footage that will live out there forever.
Ever. Yeah.
And that's just not okay.
No.
It's not okay to do that anytime, behind closed doors, on a set, wherever. But I was very conscious of the fact that this was footage that was going to be live, streamed wherever in a movie for
Yeah.
the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And that was not going to work for me.
Yeah.
It still won't work for me. It's still embarrassing for me
Yeah.
to, I saw the film. Still not what I'm,
What you
still
agreed
not
to.
what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
What that scene, what they did, but I did threaten them, and I did say, if you put my breasts or anything, I'm coming after you. So they did what they could with just crossing the line.
Yeah.
Not just
Yeah.
about to cross the line.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Anyways,
Good for you.
yeah.
Seriously, I don't mean that like good for you. That's a story that I feel the listeners can benefit from, because your character is tested daily at different degrees.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty high level degree of, you know,
Testing.
yeah. There's words, I don't know if I can articulate it well. I'm curious, just for a second, staying on this vein of unprofessionalism, standing up for yourself. As an entrepreneur, have you encountered similar things? And if so, have you dealt with it in the same nature? Or not so much?
Let me think. You know, I feel that a lot of times when you're an entrepreneur, maybe like men or investors won't take you seriously.
Yeah.
So I would say in that regard,
Right.
yes. Or maybe they don't understand, right? I do think that we're coming such a long way with like online businesses and the conscious movement and you know, positivity and lifestyle gurus and the Gabby Bernsteins of the world, the Marie Forleos, where they're actually showing that you can be like scalable and have a business and be an online entrepreneur. I think I only say that because I did that. I did that with my business. I tried to take it online. And that's where I felt a lot of pushback from investors, not really thinking like, what is this, a hobby that you're doing? What does this feel good? And not feeling valued, or that what you're bringing into the world is needed.
And is that a moment where you're just staying true to your own lane yourself, and you're just...
You know, it's always a struggle for me, because at the end of the day, it's like, I love being able to help people, which is what I'm doing. We can talk more about that later with Let Your Mess Be Your Message.
Let's talk about that now, if you're willing.
And, you know, I am going to be in the process of where I'm going to be looking for some funding soon.
Yeah.
So I'll be hitting up against this very issue. But what I think is that I have to express myself and use my gifts to the best of my ability, using social media, using the tools that can actually have the most impact. And that is through media, podcasts, different degrees of using videos, and having an online presence.
Yeah.
That's how you make the most impact.
Today, yeah.
So that's what I'm building. So I'm working on a health initiative, a mental health initiative called Let Your Mess Be Your Message. And what we're doing is we're building communities online and off. And we're starting conversations that hopefully save lives. So, you know, the words that make depression and suicide prevention super scary and unrelatable. And we're trying to find ways in which we can make them normal. How do we create... I always call it like Truth Talk with Tara. Like I have this little vlog series. This is how it all kind of started, because I started sharing my story. And it was Truth Talk with Tara. And I would come out and just share on my Facebook page and on my YouTube channel. And I would say, hey guys, blah, blah, blah. I mean, my story is long and in depth. But if you actually go to my website, I speak about it. I have my story on my site, taramagalski.com. But I can give you a quick overview. I lost my mother 10 years ago to an accidental overdose. And I dealt with a lot of, oh my God, did she kill herself? Right? Was this a suicide? It wasn't. It was an accidental intoxication of a prescription cocktail. But she was also depressed and using pills to mask her real emotions, right? To kind of like numb out. I also have a father who has had a crack cocaine addiction for 16 years. So I am no stranger to mental health issues, addiction issues. So, of course, when my mother passed, my father had been using during that time as well. I felt totally orphaned, right? No parents, really. And it was very sudden. So there was a lot of stress and PTSD. I was like, what just happened? And I was very depressed. I was very, very depressed. I was suicidal. I just didn't really know where my place was in the world, where my footing went. I felt like my entire world was turned upside down. And I really didn't know where I fit. You know, at the time, this was right after I did that film. the stick-up kids. And I remember telling my mom about it, and she was like, wow, I'm so sorry. So I had this like negative experience, right, with the last big film I did. And then my mom dies, like not too shortly after. And I kind of felt like a lot of darkness, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, the acting thing that I thought I was doing, and I was going to go out to LA and do this thing. And okay, like that was a bad experience. Maybe this isn't the avenue in which I should be going down. So I started questioning. I had all those big questions in life. And it was a deeply, deeply transitional time for me.
What self-talk did you use to get yourself through it? Scriptures, quotes.
Yeah, well, I have this actually on my site as well. I share the story of like really one night just really having had it. And I was at that point, I remember thinking, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to walk across the street and not look both ways. And if a bus hits me, so be it. I mean, this was what was going on in my mind, right? These are the thoughts that go on when you're in that place. And that was what I was going to do. I was just going to walk outside. And if I got hit by a car or a bus, I was not going to look both ways. I don't know why I thought this, but I did.
What turned that around for you?
So those were the conversations that were going on, or the thoughts that were going on in my brain. And I remember having a moment of like, this is really screwed up, right? Gosh. And just having so much sadness like come over me. And I remember being in my room in my apartment in Stuytown and just being on my hands and knees, just sobbing, like just endless heartache pain. Kind of just crying out like, listen, I don't know what to do with my life. I thought that I was going to go to LA and be this big movie star, and now that just doesn't feel right. And God, I need an answer. I need a sign. Otherwise, I just don't want to live. You know, I just don't want to do this. I don't want to play life anymore. I lost my appetite for life, literally, and I wasn't eating the whole nine. And I said, and I just was like, God, if there is a God, you know, you'll send me a sign and I'll get through this. But if not, I just want to be with my mom. Like literally, these were the thoughts I was thinking. And I remember feeling like a real warmth. I was just on the ground crying, like hysterical. And I just remember feeling like something come over me, a peaceful feeling come over me, almost like an energetic bubble of like a hug. I don't know how else to say it. Like something encapsulating me that was giving me peace. And I call it the presence of God or grace or spirituality. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. I felt like it was my moment of God speaking to me and letting me know that like, you're going to get through this. And in that moment, I had a little bit more strength to like get up off the floor. And I did go, because I had enough history of Catholicism and all that in my background, that I did. And I went to my Bible and I was like, all right, show me something. And I remember like through prayer and meditation that night, I heard divine lifestyles. No idea what that was. And I remember being like, divine lifestyles. And that's what I ended up naming my company later. And
what did you open the Bible to?
I don't remember. Okay. I don't remember. I don't remember that specific scripture, but I do remember as I was kind of reading, I had all these very cool spiritual things, like, and that's a whole nother podcast.
No, I love this because this is life happening for you, and I love that.
I have tons of spiritual things that happened to me during that time because I was extremely open and really wanting to like communicate with my mom and really feel the presence of God in my life. I mean, times where there was also dark times too, as you can imagine. At night, I would feel a lot of fear and anxiety when I would try and sleep, like go to sleep. And then I remember I would pray and I would like see light go right through my window, like a big thing of light. And I would almost see like my curtains move, like a gust of like light. And it would give me a sense of peace. Like this would happen in the middle of the night. There were so many things. A lot of weird things too, but Anyways, yeah. So it was a challenging time, and I think I might have gotten off topic, but because I think we were talking about let your mess be your message. So during that time, I ended up creating a nutrition company called Divine Lifestyles, where I was helping people holistically deal with their health and wellness. And that turned into more of mental health and looking at mental health as part of, wow, it's not just how you meditate, how you pray, how you eat, how you exercise. That all helps. But we need to look at our mental health and really dive a bit deeper. And I really got excited about that because as I was using all the tools that I was teaching my clients to do, exercise, workout, create healthy habits, telling yourself every day, you know, your positive thoughts, writing them down, how to manifest good things.
Yeah.
I felt like I wanted to do that on a larger scale, which is how Let Your Mess Be Your Message came about.
Yeah.
And now I just have a real passion to help youth with my own experience. And I'd like to help them feel like there's another way.
Yes.
Not just help people lose weight and blah, blah, blah. Like, I feel like I'm way past that now. That's a byproduct. Being healthy and losing weight is a byproduct of taking care of yourself and loving yourself. Yeah. And having joy in your life.
What are your views on happiness?
My views on happiness. I don't, every day. I mean, listen, there are definitely days where I get that pesky little voice that wants to just keep me from fulfilling my potential. And, you know, it's a constant battle in a sense where I have to say, no, I am going to be healthy. I use a lot of gratitude, a lot of gratitude practices. That's what helps to keep me on track. And it helps me to feel more joyful.
Yes, because and I find this too. Happiness, it's fear and happiness, and when you have gratitude, that negates the fear, and as a result, you're happy. So then I rephrase the question: who are you when you're at your best?
I'm taking care of myself. I'm working out. I'm giving back. I'm doing things that really mean something to me. When I'm at my best, I'm usually working on projects that I'm in service to. For example, I'm working with thankful.org right now, and I'm doing a 5-event series, and we're using this for women's empowerment, and we're going to elderly homes, we're going to hospice care, we're going to the homeless shelters. And if I can use my gifts in a way to help empower other people, I feel like that's happiness and success to me. You know, that's where I've like, that's success. If I can be of service and also make money, to me that's like, okay, success.
Yeah. Getting paid to do
what you love. Getting paid to do what I love.
What advice would you give to someone who is lost? Or might you give to someone who is lost?
So what I really want to do with this platform, with Let Your Mess Be Your Message, is because for so many years, I felt like I didn't know what my voice was, but I knew that I had a voice, but I just couldn't find what it was. I want to empower people to look at their past experiences, negative, traumatic, whatever they are, positive, and really use them as a catalyst for growth and transformation, and show them that you can use this as your greatest gift, right? Turn your pain into your purpose. How are you using your mess as your message now, right?
Yeah.
That's how you can uniquely shape and find your voice.
So it's
through your own experiences.
Like taking ownership in what's happened to you, not hiding from it.
Look inside. Do that inner work. And, you know, we all have a story. And I think that when we we own our story and we stand in that power, we find what our life's purpose is, or our soul's blueprint a bit, our divine lifestyle. Like, you know, like literally that's what Divine Lifestyles, I think, was for me. When I heard that in those moments of deep despair, I needed to look inward and find my divine lifestyle, being in alignment with spirit, being in alignment with my soul's purpose. And how then can I turn that into service? And how can I make the most impact? How can I create a message out of my mess? So that's really how it's just been an ever flow of my journey of kind of figuring out what I'm here to do.
Right. How do you?
And it's ever, it's a work in progress.
Aren't we all? Oh Lord, aren't we
Work
all?
in progress over here.
What changes have you made in your life that have increased positivity and decreased negativity?
Really doing things that light up my spirit. For example, I love dance. I've always loved dance. So I make a conscious effort to go to a dance class once a week. It just lights me up. It makes me feel like J-Lo.
What style?
It's like my J-Lo. I'm like, move over, bitches. Like, here I come. Like, that's how it makes me feel.
What
it
style is
empowers
it?
me. I take it at my gym with Shane Stanley and also at Broadway Dance Center. It's like hip hop.
Okay,
you
cool.
know, jazzy, whatever.
Yeah.
Jazzy hip hop, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's just so fun, right? So that's what I love to do, and that's what makes me feel good. I also, take singing lessons sometimes. I also take acting classes. I also audition. I also go to theater projects. I also am in Women in Ministry at Hillsong Church. I take classes. I just started taking that class, and that's really awesome for me because it's a community sense.
Yeah.
Of me really getting an understanding of how I want to show up in the world and how I want to use my faith in not a very religious way, but in a very secular, cool, just relatable way.
Yeah.
And I go to therapy. I do like everything.
Yeah, you
and
do.
I read books.
That's great.
And I go on vacation and I own my shit. And when people are out of alignment with my core values, I tell them. And I cut off relationships that are no longer serving me.
Is that ever difficult?
Yes, it's actually very difficult. But I have to stay very true to my core values, and I feel that we are the sum of the 5 people we hang out with, and you better think those people are badass, and you better want to be just like them.
Yeah.
And if not, then you have to rethink who you're hanging out with.
Yeah.
And I've had to make some changes, even recently, in my inner circle because I didn't feel like I was respected or, whatever the case may be, it was in alignment with my values.
Yeah.
And you got to own that shit. And you have to own it, and you have to say, listen, this is who I am, and this is what I'll tolerate, because there's only enough time in the day, and I can't be giving energy to things that are not going to take my life to the next level, and really creatively stimulate me and or support me, If something is like a drag or a drain on you, where it's taking up negative energy, it's got to go.
That comes from a big sense of independence. You have a great big sense of independence.
You know what I
which
think it is?
important.
I think it's boundaries. I think it's learning of growing up with an addict and loving. My father and I have a great relationship. He's still an addict. I'm going to take him golfing in a couple weeks. It's Father's Day this weekend. We can't go this weekend, but I told him in a couple weeks, my fiance and I are going to take him golfing because he loves to golf. He's thrilled. I had to learn how to just meet him where he was. He's been in and out of rehab. It's his journey. I can keep redirecting him, but I cannot allow it to ruin my life. I can't have a codependent relationship. So I had to learn at a very young age how to create a boundary that works for me, where I feel that I'm still coming with love. And when it's not working, I've always had to say, I had to, no. So I think it comes from a bit of that. And I feel I think there's a sense of entitlement I have with it, where I'm a little bit, and I'm working on that. I have to have grace with more people than I probably do. But I think it comes from being very, very acutely in tuned with not wanting people to take advantage of me or hurt me,
I do. Are there texts you refer to daily?
I like to kind of do I have this thing where I can go to positive quotes daily, and I like to see what comes to my inbox, what is God sending me today? Or trying to go through a scripture.
Positive Quotes Daily is an app?
I just go on Google.
Oh, literally
Positive
Quotes Daily.
Positive
Google
Quotes
it. Yeah.
Daily, and then I sign up for things, and then they are sent to me.
Great.
I also do that on Instagram with hashtags and stuff, positive quotes. And I also, because I always like to repost them.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking online for cool stuff. And I also will look at like Bible scriptures daily, like what comes up through. I do have an app, and I just like look whatever comes up as today's scripture. And then I also really love doing my weekly stuff with Hillsong. That helps because we're always going through some sort of, we're going through a series, and then I'll have scripture to go through for the week. After I'll have a Monday class, and then I write notes, and then I have stuff I can look into for the rest of the week.
Do you have a standout Bible verse or any that stand out in your mind? Or?
Yeah, it's lean not into your own desires. What is it? I'm bad with my verses. I'm going to find it right now.
And as you're looking
so
for
good.
it, most gifted books.
Oh, A Man's Search for Meaning,
Okay.
Viktor K. Frankl, I think. Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell. I love this book. It's Gabby Bernstein, Spirit Junkie. I have so many. I have healing books by Smith Wigglesworth. It's like awesome. What am I reading now? I do a lot of Harville Hendricks stuff too for learning like languages of love for relationships. Trust in the Lord with all in thine heart, or the heart, and lean not unto your own understanding. In all the ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. Proverbs 3 verses 5-6. I always like that one because it's a way of like taking the pressure off yourself. Like you have to figure out your life. It's almost like Jesus, take the wheel. It's like, it's in the sense of let Spirit and God guide you. And the more that you can honor that there is something greater above you, below you, wherever you have
in
to
front of you, all of it. Yeah.
All of you. Like
all
there is
around
a
you.
greater purpose for your life. The more that you can press into that, I think that those little blessings happen, and you start to get signs and wonders, and people start to be brought into your life. You're one of those people, right? You live your truth, you speak your truth, and then you find others. It's manifestation 101.
Yeah. That's so true, because once you start to get into your flow state, or whatever you want to call it, life will start placing people in front of you that you're like, oh, these are exactly who the people I want to be around.
But it's when you're not greedy and it's not when you're like self-willing it.
Yes.
And you're letting your ego drive, and you're trying to make your life happen.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't work. Believe me, I tried it. Like when you're trying to make your life happen, it just doesn't work.
Good luck. And the other one too, life punishes the vague wish and rewards the specific ask.
Oh, I love that. Say that again.
Life punishes the vague wish and rewards the specific ask.
That's beautiful.
And I was doing the same thing, trying to will it, but in a vague
I mean, I have a vision
wish.
board.
And that's, yeah.
I
but
get very
when you get
yeah.
specific, that's when the gold really starts pouring out of your life.
And it's interesting, when we were having that conversation last week at the one hotel, you were like, what's your 5-year plan? What did I tell you? I told you a whole lot of specific
You're like, last
things.
night I was with my friend. Let me show you pictures. I have vision board. Like literally, we got right into it.
I was like, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Metaphorically speaking, if you could put a word or a phrase or quote on a billboard for millions of people to see, does
I love this
anything
one.
come to mind?
Yeah, I think it's a Marianne Williamson thing, which is like my favorite. You are more powerful than you will ever know. Just love that.
Yeah.
Like, we just don't know how powerful we are. We have no clue
What we're
of what we're capable of.
Yeah.
So it's just, I would say you are more powerful than you could ever imagine.
I love that.
Yeah, I got that from her.
I love that. This is great. This is a great conversation. What's coming up for you? Where can we find you?
So I'm doing a couple cool events with thankful.org. So check them out because they're an amazing social enterprise, multi-product, multi-cause organization. Get on that radar. I'm also working with Music Cares. We're doing an event in, it's going to be August. We're still going through the date, but probably August 20th. They're an amazing organization that I've been so blessed to work with that actually gives services and support to artists that are struggling with mental health and addiction. Super amazing cause. And I have launched my site, Let Your Mess Be Your Message. I'm currently working on some new video content. You can check out my interview on Bold TV on their Facebook page.
LetYourMessBeYourMessage.com.
Yep.
Great. Bold TV.
Yep.
Great.
I just did an interview there, and hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of me online doing some more of these videos. And I just ask everyone to visit Let Your Mess Be Your Message and sign up so you can get involved when we have our next event series. I'd love to invite everyone to join the tribe, to share their story. And I also encourage people to go online and upload a video, because I will feature them on the site and on the Instagram channel and on YouTube, because it's about sharing, right?
A video of them sharing their mess,
Their
becoming
story.
their message, their story.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you go to the site, letyourmessbeyourmessage.com, you'll see there some information of how you can share your stories and how others have shared their story. And I just encourage people to go there and get involved and join me.
How long do you want the videos?
They're about 3 to 5 minutes.
Great.
Yeah. And if people can just share, maybe a struggle that they've been going through or had gone through, or anxiety, suicidal thoughts, depression, whatever they want to share, and how they are now using that experience and turning it into a platform to create social impact. How are they taking their mess and turning it into their message that will help empower others?
Perfect. Are you on Instagram, Twitter?
Yep. Let your mess be your message. Not Twitter. I don't know why. I'm not a Twitter person.
Same.
I don't know why. It's just, some people are like, you have to be on it. And then some people are like, you just do the verticals that work for you. Like, I'm not a Twitter person. I have at Tara Magalski, but I'm never on it.
Yeah.
So Instagram is really, I think, my method of communication.
At Tara Magalski.
So I have 2.
Okay.
So I have 3. I have at
Great.
Divine Lifestyles.
Great.
I have at Tara Magalski, which is more of my personal, and I have at Let Your Mess Be Your Message, which is more of the movement that we're creating to break the chains of silence.
Yes.
Share your truth, create impact, stand in your vulnerabilities.
Yes, stand in your vulnerability.
Because if we can create sacred spaces where we all can share our truth and use our vulnerabilities to create more impact, my story will speak to you, your story speaks to somebody else, and so on and so on.
The world will be a better place.
And we just need to hear more voices. We need to highlight
do.
more voices. So that's what we're trying to do.
That you're not
so
alone.
join us.
I love this. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been a real joy.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tara Magalski.
You've been listening to Entertainment X, the podcast. You can follow Entertainment X on Instagram at _EntertainmentX_. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join Clay next week for another curiosity conversation on Entertainment X. Thank you for listening.